Just a week after the State of the Union, President Obama is renewing his efforts to close the prison at Guantanamo Bay.
That's right, but the president is meeting some stiff resistance from Republican lawmakers. Our State Department correspondent, Margaret Brennan, has more.
President Obama has again pledged to make good on an old promise to shut the military prison at Guantanamo Bay.
Since I've been president, we've worked responsibly to cut the population of Gitmo in half. Now it is time to finish the job, and I will not relent in my determination to shut it down. It is not who we are. It's time to close Gitmo.
In the past 2 months, the administration freed more than a dozen detainees who were deemed safe enough to release.
We can no longer sit on the sidelines and watch the jail be emptied.
But key Republican senators like South Carolina's Lindsey Graham are trying to halt all releases.
To release these prisoners, given what's going on throughout the world, to me is a disconnect between reality on the ground and a campaign promise.
According to U.S. intelligence, 17% of released prisoners have re-engaged in terror activity. Before stepping down in December, Special Envoy Cliff Sloan told CBS News that number has been sharply reduced by improved vetting.
The number of people who have been transferred from Guantanamo in this administration after a rigorous review, who have been confirmed of engaging in terrorist or insurgent activities, is 6%.
Each of the remaining 122 prisoners cost the American taxpayer more than $3 million a year. Sloan argues it would be cheaper to free the 54 prisoners who are clear to leave and send the most dangerous men to maximum security prisons, where the cost is just $80,000 each.
There is no reason in the world why somebody who has been convicted at Guantanamo should not serve his sentence at a supermax, very secure prison in the United States, just like hundreds of other people convicted of very serious terrorism offenses.
Yet Congress banned the transfer of any Guantanamo detainee to the U.S. That leaves open the question of what to do with the remaining prisoners, 24 of whom are too dangerous to ever release. New Senate Armed Services Chair John McCain said he's waiting for an answer from the administration.
It's now been 6 years. Tell me what the plan is.
Thank you.
With just 2 years left in office, the president will likely need help from the Republican-led Congress if he ever wants to close the prison.
And State Department correspondent Margaret Brennan joins us now live from Washington. Margaret, there were reports that one of the Taliban detainees released from Guantanamo for Sergeant Bo Bergdahl last year has actually tried to return to terrorism. Is there anything you can tell us about that?
Right. Those 5 are now living in the country of Qatar, and the Pentagon confirmed today that at least one of the detainees that was involved in that swap recently took actions that they consider to be suspicious. But the State Department says the situation's under control, and U.S. intelligence is monitoring who they talk to and what is being said. So far, the former detainee has not been violent, nor has he returned to the battlefield. And what we do know is that it really doesn't take much for a former detainee to do something that raises a red flag. And that's what we're told happened here, and it's being taken care of.
Margaret, you know, we all watched the president deliver that State of the Union, and when he said it's time to close Gitmo, we heard clapping, but we didn't see John Boehner clapping. Are there any Republicans out there that are siding with the president on this?
Well, there are some. I mean, Senator John McCain, who's the chair of the Armed Services Committee, that's important because they really have oversight here. He says he's open to the idea, but as you heard him in the package, he says he's got a lot of questions. He wants more details on how the administration is going to roll out this plan and specifically what they're going to do with the most dangerous prisoners who can never be released. Which prisons and where are they going to? So Congress has consistently found ways to renew the ban on transfers because they attach the legislation to other larger, totally unrelated spending bills that the president has no choice but to push through. So they're tying his hands in that way. And the White House is now looking at how it could use executive authority to bypass Congress. But this is a really hard thing to sell politically because of all the heightened terror concerns.
Absolutely. So what are the chances that Guantanamo will be closed by the time Obama leaves office?
This is going to be a very hard sell politically. It's also going to be very difficult to get done in the next 2 years, in part because so many of those detainees, even the ones who don't have charges, they're free to go, the bulk of them right now are Yemeni nationals. And obviously, those people can't go home because of all the unrest in Yemen right now. That means U.S. diplomats have to convince other countries to take them in. You've recently seen Uruguay, Estonia, Kazakhstan, really a broad array of countries say they'd be willing to do it. Many of them because they've been harshly critical of the U.S. And say that we've carried out human rights abuses at Guantanamo. So this is a really difficult thing on so many different levels, but the president says he wants to get it done before he leaves office.
Okay, Margaret Brennan, thank you for joining us from Washington today.